All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's Missing in the Science of Reading. I'm Karen Taylor. I'm here with my co-presenter, Laura McIndoo. Hello, Laura.
Hi.
Glad to have you here. We've got a lot of folks here. Yeah, Laura's going to speak some, but not as much as normal because she's battling a pretty big cold right now. But we're going to save her voice for the latter part and anything she wants to say in the meantime. All right,
All right.
folks, we're going to start presenting in just a moment. I wanted to say welcome and just say, we're hosting this hybrid asynchronous live workshop over in our course structure, which you have links to through my emails. And we're doing that so that you can go back and watch, or that you're watching right now asynchronously. Maybe you're watching the recorded session. So I'm speaking both to the present audience and the future audience. And you all can just keep the now in your mind. That's fine. Sorry about that. There we go. And so we're going to be going back over there, and I want you to be aware of what all is available to you. So go ahead and pull that up and just know it's there for you. Okay. And I see Wyoming's in the room, Costa Rica, New Hampshire, got lots of people here. Okay. With a little bit of context, I'd like to just say again, we've got a lot of our color vowel base here, and color vowel's been around since 1999 when I first made the chart, and Shirley started collaborating with me. But by about 2010, we really knew something had happened to the chart where, and we'll show the chart shortly, but it became a thing that got bigger than itself, and people started asking about it and wanted to know more, and we learned more about what it offers. And so it's only now that we're really making this sort of outreach to the reading world, the world of reading, or anyone who teaches reading or is headed in that direction. And so if you notice us using terms that are different than the terms you use, help us make that bridge with you, but know that we're sort of putting our foot in a different pool of water, and so it's exciting for me, and I know it is for Laura too. If you haven't watched the videos in the course, you will want to do that either right after this moment or before you continue watching this video. And that's the last time I'll talk about the future people watching. But in those videos, it's sort of a replication of the workshop, the presentation that Laura and I gave in Long Beach just a few weeks ago for TESOL. And so the slide that you've seen just recently here is as a glimpse of that. Okay. We're going to get started with a question. And so I'm going to, let's see if I can share screen here. I'm going to show you some objects. And I want you to pick something. Let me just grab. There we go. All right. We're going to do this with just a couple of things here. There we go. All right. I'd like you to grab something. I'll be your grabber. I'll do that virtually for you. But I see Eric in the room. Actually, I see Edis. That's who I see. Edis, would you just choose an object? You know what I'm doing. Sorry. There you go. I'll stop moving. Would you select an object and just tell me what you want me to pick up?
The zebra.
Okay. All right. So you're calling this a zebra, right?
Hmm.
Great. And we're going to ask ourselves, how does that sound? Zebra. And so everybody, now that we have the zebra, I will take it back now into my real world. Here it is. There's the zebra. We just chose it. So he picked it. He named it, by the way. He called it a zebra. So we're just going to say that word, zebra, and I'll add a gesture. So try that: zebra, 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 zebra. If you repeat it, you'll really start to hear zebra, zebra, zebra. Yeah. So we'll start to hear that peak vowel sound. We'll hear a high note, and that corresponds with a vowel sound. Zebra, right? He called it a zebra. Someone else in the room, yes, Dr. Barr, someone else in the room might call it a zebra. Zebra, zebra, zebra. Gemma, I see you. What do you call this in Scotland?
Red pepper zebra.
All right, great. So whatever your sound
Mm.
file is, you have a sound file for this. And if you don't, if you were an English learner who didn't yet have an animal, a word for zebra or zebra, you might call this an animal, in which case it's what? Animal, 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 animal. So we're going to start with whatever word the learner brings to the table. And this is what we affectionately call the menagerie, any collection of delightful small objects that you might present to learners that they can select from. Okay. And so we aren't in a room together and I won't be giving out these objects, but it's to say whether it's children or adults, the menagerie is the first vocabulary set, because it's not just the one thing that you think it is. It's about three other things that the learner might call it. Okay, they might call it a toy, right? Whatever it is. So there we are. Now that we have that peak vowel sound, zebra, 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 I'm going to let you bridge into a list of words. I'm going to give you a list of words to work with. And what we'll do with that list of words, and this is to build just our phonemic awareness without the use of letters for a moment. We're going to spend some time with my cat. So here's my cat. This is Rosie. We're going to engage in an activity. I know she looks really fierce here. I turned on the light one night and she was looking at me like that. So I snapped this photo. But what Call the Cat is, this is an activity called Call the Cat. And it was developed by a professor of linguistics, as far as I know, in Michigan. And then it was passed on to me and it works really well. And it's essentially imagining that you have a cat and you're going to call that cat in from outside, maybe to feed it. Or you're calling someone across a large space like a parking lot. But we'll call it Call the Cat, okay? In Call the Cat, if her name is Rosie, how am I going to yell her name across the parking lot? Rosie, Rosie, right? Rosie. So it's always Rosie and not Rosie, Rosie, Rosie. If this cat does recognize its name, which is not entirely clear to me, she would not recognize it as Rosie, right? So the peak vowel is something that we know as speakers of English, and as teachers of English, we need to tap into that awareness. It's important so that we can teach accurately. And what we see in the training from science of English, the science of reading as it's passed down, and this is specifically true in the letters training, is that there's not nearly enough attention spent on building teacher phonological awareness in this area. So practically, this is what we're doing now, okay? So we'll call the cat. I'm going to give you a list of words in the chat and some instructions. So let's take a look in the chat at those instructions. And first I will go ahead and display them. Here we go, okay? So in your breakout room, you're going to take turns. You're going to say a word in the list, okay? I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to say a word in the list. You're going to sing it to your colleagues, okay? You're going to notice where that highest, longest note is. You'll say the word again, but this time with some kind of a gesture. Rosie, Rosie, right? Ask yourself what color that word is. Look at the chart. So take a look in the chat, please, if you would, and you will find my instructions and you'll find a link as well, okay? Open up that link if you would, which is to the interactive color vowel chart. And this is over in the, if it's not, it will be, but it'll be in the workshop space as well. So if you're watching this asynchronously, you could open up the interactive chart. It is on our website at colorvowel.com. And in the very top navigation, you'll see under resources that there's an interactive color vowel chart. Okay, so open that up. And there now you should have ideally your video with me and the interactive chart open next to that separate window. That way you can look at it. If you're new to it, you can also click on it and hear the vowel sounds. Okay, wonderful. You're then going to answer that question, what color is it? And by asking what color it is, you're actually going to match the vowel sound, that peak sound, to one of the color vowels. So rosy, rosy. If it were green tea, it would be reezy. If it were gray day, it would be razy. And if it were rosebud, it would be rosy. Okay. I'm going to assume that many of you have already watched the videos enough that we are onboarded. Teachers who are color vowel trained, I would love it if you could rename yourself with a CV in front of your name, so that those who are new to our community know that you are trained, and also so that you can kind of let yourself hang back a little bit as an observer trainer, because I know you know the colors of all these words, right? So you'll hang back a little bit. Okay, beautiful. Are we ready for the list of words? Yes. All right. I'm going to put you in some breakout rooms. This is swift. I want you to think of this as like a sprint. So it's about, I'd say you have about 3 minutes, 12 words. I think you can do it. Here we go. So we're going to go into about how many, let's see, I'm going to stop spotlight. How many people do we have? Good number. All right. So I'm going to make about 6 breakout rooms. Claire, have you been doing that work already? 6 people per room, or should I?
I will create the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. So whoever's in the room, go ahead and move through that little set of directives and keep rotating. If you're black box, that's fine, but just be prepared to, you can kind of put a not participating if you can't, but I hope everyone can. Okay. Any questions before we break out for about 3 minutes?
Oh, yeah. Where is the list that you're talking about? The list of
Yeah,
words?
I'm about to paste it into the chat. Don't make
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so wonderful. Here we go. All right. So it's in the chat now. Okay. So now you can head out into those rooms and refer to that list. All right. And a few of us can stay here. All right. I say welcome to Chris, who's either frozen or that's her picture. I'm not sure which. Hi, Terry. Greetings. Come on in. Hi there. I'm inviting you to unmute. You can be with us. We can actually be the recording window for anyone who watches the session. Hi. Can you hear me, Terry?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Great, great. All right. So since I have the chart here with me, we can do this really nicely. What we're doing is working through a list of words in the chat. And the first one is snow. I'll model, and then you can be the volunteer that follows up. Okay, so those instructions again are in the chat if you need them. They should still be there. I think the chat leaves the previous chats there, right? Don't you think so, Claire? Okay, great. All right, and so I would go ahead and say it. The word is snow, and I'll say snow, snow, snow. And so it's easy because it's one syllable, snow, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'll match it. I'll say I think it's, what do you think it is, Terry? Snow.
Rose boat.
Yeah, rose, boat, snow. Great. You're the next, your word is next. So you've got the next one, which is PLOW.
I'm not seeing it, but I think it's plow, right?
Yeah, plow, plow. All right. If you already know, we can move pretty quickly through the one syllables. What color it is? Let's try on a few colors. If it were rose, it would be what?
Flow.
Flow, which it's not, right? So now we can cast around and find another color. Hello, Azine, good to see you. We're just finding the color of the word plow.
Hi.
Plow.
Is it a combination of ah and oo?
Well, if you can divide it in your mind like that, but there's one color vowel that has exactly that combination. So plow, plow,
Brown cow.
brown cow, plow. Exactly.
Mhm.
Great. All right. Azine, hi, welcome. The next one is tough, tough, tough. We can hear that vowel sound, tough, tough, tough. There it is, right?
I'll let someone else answer.
Yeah, it's Azine's turn now. Hi, Azine.
Hi.
So we can
So
ask that color. What color do you hear?
I hear a cup of mustard.
Yeah, a cup of mustard, tough. So we
Tough.
hear that assonance, right? That same vowel sound. We can just call that a mustard word. Great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Laura, you volunteered.
Although, although, so sorry.
So it's an absurd name for a cat.
Oh,
Although, although.
although.
So we can find the stress. Yeah. What color do we hear?
That is the same as snow. Snow, although. So it's rose, boat, although.
Yep. Although, rose, boat, although, all of those are rose words. Great. So now we're now with, hi, Irina. Good to see you. You want to try the next one? The next one is love. Love.
Do you want me to pronounce that? I'm kind of a bit late, so not sure what.
Yeah. What we're
supposed to
doing
be.
is kind of paying attention. What's that vowel sound? Love, love. Okay. So you can say it, and then we want to find that color.
Love.
Love.
To me, it's a cup of mustard. Love.
Yeah. A cup of mustard, love. Right. Good. I want to come back to Terry because I know you're new to it. Right. So the next word is father. This is, now we're getting into the really good ones. Father. So you'd call the cat with father. How would that sound?
Olive sock.
Yeah. Olive, sock, father. Exactly. Now we can all add a hand. Everybody try that. Olive, sock, father. Yeah.
Olive sock father.
Great. The gesture helps us notice. It's literally like our mind's eye, noticing the moment of the vowel without having to segment the word, right? So we can do it while leaving the word in its natural state in the mouth. Father, if we wanted to. Father, take it out. Okay. How about daughter? Hi, Patricia. You want to try daughter? No? Okay, you're going to listen.
I want
Okay.
to listen. It has been a few years since probably 5 years since I participated in a workshop and that I
Sure.
tried to get this going. I'm an ESOL teacher who's been inundated with science of reading, so I'm very curious.
Wonderful.
Probably not the
Well, as folks enter the room, it's kind of a perfect opportunity. I will borrow, let's see, Claire, how do you feel about taking a little risk and giving it a try? How about daughter? Can you call the cat with daughter?
Daughter, daughter, ah.
Yeah.
So this is the one that I always get. I personally cannot really hear the difference between olive sock and auburn dog. To me, they sound exactly the same. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it might be it's daughter, olive sock daughter, or olive sock, auburn dog daughter.
Yep. So how many of you now recall materials where you've seen a whole section on that backward phonetic symbol? Looks like a backward C. And you just think, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do about that? I don't even know what to do. That was actually one of the first things I experienced as a teacher out of graduate school, was a book with a whole chapter dedicated to that sound. And I thought, I think this was a mistake. I was convinced that they'd like published a British book in the United States. I didn't know what to do with it because I happen to not have this sound. Okay. So this gray line, which you can learn much more about in time, tells us actually this is a merge. This is one sound for many of us and two for almost as many of us. And we could do a bunch of polls and we would see that some people would never consider daughter olive. And yet I and Claire and I think Laura would all feel very comfortable saying olive sock daughter. Okay. Auburn dog daughter. I can do it because I learned how, even though it's not my dialect. But we need to be aware that this can be one category for the learner. Can we agree on that? They don't need to be able to do both of those versions. Okay, great. Over in the breakout rooms, you had a good time, I take it. Any questions? We had cousin, together. How about together? I love together because it's got internal stress, right? Where's the stress? Together, together. And she comes running. Her name is Together. Together, right? And we can match it to the chart at the peak vowel, that red sound. So we're finding the stress. We're not worrying about the other syllables as much. We're pinning it down by the way it sounds, together. And if you have that, you're in a pretty good place recognizing how that word sounds. Okay, good. Any questions about words that came up, or discussions or difficulties? Are we ready to continue? Great. Okay. So we've identified oral words. We took a couple written cues, but the idea was to work with words orally and decide what color they are. Okay. And when you look at the way they end up being marked on paper, you can take a screen capture of this if you like. Okay. It just gives you an idea that we now have a way to identify it on the chart, touch it, or we can go ahead and just underline the stressed vowel letters and write down the color vowel next to it. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Along those lines of words that are words first and printed things later. This is really important if you're trying to detox from science of reading materials, which I'm taking Patricia's lead on that. And I love the smile. Okay. Is that we're trying to remember that words are words first. They're things that we say and hear and communicate with and care about first. And if we're talking about younger children, especially younger children, I mean, we all love animals. Animals are fascinating. We are animals. So why not start with us and the animals? If we work with this kind of vocabulary, you're already recognizing, some of your favorite animals. And so in this second activity, what we'll do is I'm going to show you, let's see if I can find my slide here. All right. We're going to sort these words into categories. And here on the chart, if I show you my chart again, maybe you've noticed by now, if you've used it in the past, this is a newer version where we have the anchor images right here in the chart. It's kind of nice. So that green T is always going to look like that. And now we can either have it by itself, or we can have it with the phrase or the phrase alone. It all means that E sound. It's called the green sound, or the gray sound, gray day. Okay. So anytime you see one of these, go ahead and replay the whole phrase for yourself, or just the sound, purple shirt, right? All right. Now, as I share screen, we're going to categorize, and I'd love to have some folks in the room take turns. So you can use the chat for this, by the way, but I'd like to hear you as well. So here is that. There we go. So here's a really easy sorting. I'll call it not an easy, but a simple and clear sorting activity. One that doesn't have any traps laid to trap the learner, or the teacher for that matter. And I find teachers are often just as confused about what they have to do with the phonics program as the learners are. And they end up having to make something up on the fly. Here, we're going to just ask ourselves, what are we calling this animal? And where can we place it in terms of a color vowel? So let's start with this guy right here. I'm picking this guy. Okay, here he is in the corner, just as a place to be on stage. I'm going to call him an elephant. I can call the cat if I need to. Elephant, 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 elephant. Everyone try that with your hand. Elephant, 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 elephant. Great. There is a peak vowel sound that is the place we'll pin it down by. And we'll identify, is this a black cat word? A purple shirt? Is it elephant? Is it black cat elephant? Is it, Shirley, you want to model what it would be if it were a olive sock word?
Olive sock elephant.
Oliphant. I could probably make sense of it, but it's not quite in the pocket, right? Okay, so I can say, well, it's close. On the chart, it's close, kind of close. It touches by a corner to where it's going to end up, right? Let's try it with silver pin. What would that sound like if it were silver? Let's hear someone. I'm looking over here at Walter Lynn. It's been a year.
Elephant.
What is it?
Elephant. No,
Elephant?
pin.
Yeah.
Elephant.
Elephant. Silver
Elephant.
pin elephant. Okay.
Mhm.
Thumbs up if that's in the pocket, as I'm calling it, or thumbs down if you want to nudge it somewhere else. Okay, you want to nudge it somewhere else. So it's kind of close. I can keep looking at my chart and you could look at yours too. I hope you still have that window up. So here we're at elephant. We've tried elephant. We've tried oliphant. And so if we go ahead and try this one, we should hear a kind of repetition, an assonance of that peak vowel sound. Red, pepper, elephant. Do we hear that same sound 3 times? And the learner can do this, and the teacher can do this. You can simply ask, what color is this word? And you can both call the cat with it, gesture at the peak vowel, right? And find the color that matches. Let's try. I'm now passing this along. So I'm going to especially call on new people, not to trap you, but because I want you to discover how easy this really can be. And you might need an adjustment or two, but we're going to be good. So volunteers, especially if you're new, someone want to try with, let's pick this guy right here. He's on stage. Here he is. All right, Santo, hello.
Yes, I guess it goes with, since it is turtle, it's supposed to go with sorry, I don't I didn't memorize it goes with the shirt,
Yeah,
in the chart. Sorry, let me grab
it's
the
perfect. You've got it. The shirt. It goes with the
purple
shirt.
What color is the
purple
shirt?
shirt. Exactly. Purple shirt turtle. It goes with
Perfect.
it.
Thank you. It is. It goes with the shirt. And I don't, I wonder if you were colorblind, let's say somebody was very colorblind and could not recognize the purple part, then purple is not salient to them, but they do have the shirt part. See? So whether Santo chose the purple part first or the shirt part, he heard the he heard the assonance, the shirt and the turtle. Purple shirt. Everyone try that. Purple shirt turtle.
Purple
Okay, great.
shirt turtle.
Yes. Now, if you are recovering from science of reading materials, and I'm saying that a little tongue in cheek, but I know there are folks that have really felt constrained and confused by some materials. This is a vowel sound, and we can meet another time to talk about what happens to our controlled vowels, how clean it gets, how easy it gets with color vowel. But this is simply a vowel sound in the word turtle. Okay, beautiful. All right, another volunteer. This is the word, I'll tell you, this is the word chicken. 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 Who, a volunteer, would like to try matching it with a color vowel on their chart? Chris, I see you.
Hi. Is it the I sound in chicken?
Chicken.
Chicken.
So if it were black, it would be chacken.
So
Does that
maybe the
work?
silver pin.
Yeah. Silver pin chicken. Go ahead and say that after me. Silver pin chicken. Go.
Silver pin chicken.
Great. Fantastic. So we can hear that again. This sort of a confirmation. I hear 3 times. And I can call that a silver word and a silver sound. Okay. So those folks, again, the folks that have a CV, I'm thinking about you for a minute because you're thinking, yeah, I already know this. It's second nature to those of you who already know the color vowel chart, but I want to know about the new people. Is this kind of new and different? Yeah. it plays out. Every vowel sound of English has a color vowel of its own. And we haven't had to say anything about long or short, not once. There's nothing short about chicken, chick. I can say it fast, chicken. I can say it slow, chicken. It doesn't matter. It's not long or short. It's just a chicken, and it's a silver word. Okay. How about this guy right here? He's a sloth. Sloth. Okay. I'm going to see if we have someone else new, another volunteer. Like Harold, I was looking at you. Perfect.
Olive.
Slav. Slav. Almost sounds like Slav. Slav. Ah. A cup? No. Cup? Cup?
Let's try cup. Go ahead
No.
and try a cup of mustard. And put that in this word. How does it sound?
Cup. Slav. Slav. Cup.
It's
Slough.
very close, right? So we've got slough, slough. Okay, is that in the pocket, everybody? If you want to know the word sloth, slough.
Wow.
Okay, watch for a minute.
Wow.
What I'm going to do is model. This is exactly what you can do with a learner too, by the way. So the word is sloth. I'm modeling it, sloth. Now watch, I'm going to spotlight for a second. So you can see me. Here we go. When I point to my mouth, this is me saying the word as I say it. When I point to a color vowel, this is me modeling it with that sound. And you're going to decide which one is which, okay? Sloth, slough, sloth, slough. Same or different?
Different.
Harold. Different, right? Okay. And Harold, you can put on your mic for a minute, okay? Let's just say for the moment, let's just pretend that if Harold then said, well, maybe it's black. I would say, okay, let's try it.
Yeah.
Slath, sloth,
Yeah.
slath. Now watch my mouth. Same or different?
Different.
Different. So I can prove to him that they're different through observation and not just because I know. Okay, then we come to what's your next guess?
Sloth. Olive.
Olive, sock,
Olive.
sloth, 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 sloth. Same or different?
Same.
Same. Okay.
Same.
And folks, this is because the chart is a way to find in your mouth where these sounds happen. So E is that green sound, that smiling high E. Yeah, ah. Harold, I saw you make a look. Is that interesting to you?
Yeah. I like the sound. Yeah.
And all we're doing, I'm not being fancy. All I'm doing is dropping my jaw to see what happens. I'm just playing with my own hardware. Yeah, ah. And I can hear and see what happens. Ah. Okay. So folks, this is all happens in Color Vowel Basics and the level 1 training that we offer, but we're giving you like a glimpse tonight so you can see how simple this is. So we've stepped away from long and short suddenly. We don't have to be the only one who knows the answer when we peek in the book or whatever else has been happening that makes us feel uncomfortable. Or in some cases, teachers have told me they feel dishonest, like I've been lying to my kids. These are the sensations that have been plaguing me and my colleagues for years, and we've just remained quiet over in our ESL world. But now we want to share this with the folks who are really out there, and especially in K through 12 and low literacy adult schooling. Okay, great. So we can now move our sloth. I'll move my sloth back, and we get the idea. Okay, sloth. All right, let's quickly go to the chat, and we're going to finish these guys out. Camel. What color is camel? Camel. Call it camel. 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 What color is camel? And Edis?
Black cat, camel.
Black cat, camel. Does that seem pretty solid to you? Does that feel right in the pocket? Like, yeah. Okay, great. How about frog? Frog. Okay, I'm watching some folks here. How about someone new? I'm watching you.
I think, oh, someone else.
Okay, go ahead. Let's have Jennery. Oh, we can't hear you. You'll have to unmute. But we want to.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
Genori. Frog. It's like a cup of mustard, maybe. Frog.
Good. Let's
Frog.
try it. I want you to try it with the phrase, a cup of mustard, and then plug that into the word. How does it sound?
Okay.
A
Frog.
cup of mustard, frog. Frog, frog, frog,
Frog.
frog. Same or different,
Olive.
Jenny?
It's olive.
It's olive. Okay, let's
Olive.
try that. Frog.
Okay.
Okay,
Frog.
good. Let's
A
try
cup of
all
mustard,
three. Ready?
Frog.
Yeah. So a cup of, sorry, olive, sock, frog, olive, sock, sloth.
Sloth. And frog.
How do we all feel? We're in the pocket? Great. Okay. So notice without any letters, without any graphemes or written words in front of us, we're really having to listen. And that is the foundation for real phonemic awareness, the kind we need to play with words. Okay, great. Let's try this one. We've got a duck. And Ina, you want to try that one? Duck.
I'm not confused now. This is not Auburn. This is duck. So it's going to be an olive sock duck.
Okay, let's give it a try. Now, the native English speakers in the room need to hear that word again, dock. If it were olive, dock. And I'm just going to do a kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down. Does this animal match the word dock when you hear dock and duck? Okay, listen to it, Ina, now.
Duck and dock don't make sense. They're not the same.
Right, they're not the same.
Not the same.
So it's not olive sock dock. So it's going to be, now this is the fun part, is look at the chart, because we now know the chart is going to help us that when things are close to each other, they're literally close in the mouth, right? So here's dock, ah, everybody, low jaw, ah. Now just lift the jaw.
So it becomes mustard. Becomes
and now say it.
A cup of mustard duck.
Good. Now I'm still hearing olive from your mouth. So I'm going to give you a trick. Okay. And what is your first language?
Romanian.
Romanian. Good. So you probably don't have mustard in Romanian, right?
We do have the but it's much stronger. It becomes a full vowel. It can be stressed as well.
Okay, can you try that one for duck?
Duck. But if
I think what you consider that sound is a little lower, just a little, and it gets right on the line. And that in our minds, the English speaking mind, at least my mind, I'm hearing ah. So if you raise your jaw a little bit, duck.
So it's duck, like duck, duck, duck. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's going to be
and
mustard.
So these are very similar sounds. And notice we're able to appreciate that here in a way that calling this short O and this short U does not help us appreciate.
Right.
Okay. So we're really paying attention to what's happening in the mouth, and I can model, and we can call it olive or mustard. And guess what? If you talk about, I went to the lake and I saw a dock, it is a similar context. So it kind of matters. Like there's a dock on the water and there was a duck in the water. So we'll want to pay attention to that difference in this case, especially because those two words are happening together in context of water and, being near the shore. Okay, beautiful. So we're using ourselves in our own moments for our own phonemic awareness. And the very same thing I'm doing with Ina is what we can do with any one of us and our own learners. Meaning the same tools, the same questions are all equally accessible. Okay, moving along. Really nice job. if we quickly get the chat, let's finish that out, right? So monkey in the chat, and Claire's going to read for me the answers. Go ahead and type your answer. Hold off on hitting return for a second. Go there. What color is monkey? Don't hit return yet. Just type it and wait. Monkey, 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 Okay. Go ahead and find that chat, type your color and hit return. We'd love to see all those. What are you seeing, Claire?
So I see mustard, cup of mustard, cup of mustard, 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 mustard.
A lot of mustard. Yeah, monkey.
A lot of mustard.
Good. So we're hearing again, it's the assonants. We're attuned to that. A cup of mustard, monkey. So we'll move monkey, squirrel, 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 squirrel. Calling the cat works really nicely because it puts it in our musical mind and we're able to pay attention to it in a different way than our language mind. Okay, so it's really nicely effective. What do we see over there? Squirrel. I'm sorry, squirrel. Yeah, what color? Good, purple. Very good. And so forth. Our duck is mustard. Our pig, silver pin. Our panda is black. Our what color is penguin? Penguin. If it were purple, how would it sound? Who'd like to try that? Jody, you like doing this. Can you try on purple for penguin? What is it?
Oh, purple penguin.
A penguin. Okay, not on the target, right? So you're like, okay, that didn't work. Edis, you want to try on penguin as a mustard word, please?
Yes, a cup of mustard, penguin.
Okay, now
Yeah,
you're still relying on, the word penguin, but we're going to we're going to kind of mispronounce it.
Yeah. A cup of mustard, penguin.
Penguin. Very good. Yeah, there we go. We got it. Good. And if it were red, how's it going to sound? Rose, you want to do that one? Oops.
Red pepper, penguin.
Penguin. In the target or not in the target? Give us an idea. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, I see some thumbs up. I see sort of nobody, some people are not committing to this. Do we hear another color? Yeah,
Kim?
Lynn, what do you hear?
For me, it's gray day penguin.
Yeah, so we don't have gray day on here, but what I can do is I can copy my penguin. I can go to the next slide. I can paste my penguin. And now we can ask ourselves, how many people feel comfortable saying gray day penguin? Raise your hand if gray day penguin feels nice. Okay, so it can be either penguin or penguin or penguin. Okay, it might be any of those. And that's because of that N. So this is about the environment of the vowel. And again, these are things that are included. If you read Louisa Moats, who's the author of Letters, if you read her speech to print, she has a whole section on these controlling consonants, but she doesn't do much to talk about what it does to the vowel quality and how you can have different answers. Okay, so we want to honor that flexibility and be able to hear what our learners have to say. All right. Now I'm watching time and I want to move along so that we get to everything, but do we understand that up here, what we've done is we've been hearing the peak vowel, finding the color vowel, and then organizing words in a very different way, right? If you start thinking about walls in classrooms, and here I'm really thinking about the K through 12 people here, walls in classrooms, how do you organize words in those classrooms? If there's a word wall, how is it typically organized? A word wall. Who has a word wall? Anybody have a word wall in their classroom?
I've seen them.
You've seen them? Okay.
And they are all alphabetically.
Okay. They're all
And so kids don't know where to look.
Okay. So they might look something like this. Maybe.
Maybe.
This is one word wall. Okay. there are many kinds in the sense that you might have a word wall with all, let's say, a bunch of S words and they're all alphabetized, right? This one is a little more flat in the sense that these are just all O words. These are all P words. These are all R words, okay? What is a child to do with this wall? That's my question. I have other questions, but it's organized it's organized by alphabet. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay? H, okay. So when we get into the O, what are we supposed to do when we look at these O words? I'm going to write them in the chat. I'm not going to say them. I'm going to put them in the chat. Let's find that for me. There we go. So these are the words that are there. They are on. Oh, I'm saying them. You see how much I rely on my internal sound file for these words. So now you can just look at them in the chat. Okay. Jennifer says, listen and repeat drills at the beginning of the day. Okay, so who leads them, Jennifer? You can open up your mic.
Maybe the teacher. I'm going back to thinking when I was in second grade and we had certain words that, I think they were consonant blends mostly, like, I can't think of it right now, but you just like maybe this teacher would say and, as, at, are, am, all, and then the children would have to repeat those, or maybe she'd just say and then all the kids say and. So you're not really learning any technique of how to read it, you're just repeating it. Maybe.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is that the teacher has to come to this board.
Yeah, I don't think the kids can interact by themselves.
If the child walks up and if the child is a second language learner of English, what are they supposed to do? They don't have the sound files yet, let's say. They do, if they're speaker, let's say their speaker is Spanish, they do have a sound file for their own language of what that letter O represents, which is what? O.
Oh.
Oh. So now they're going to say on, of, out, or, over, on.
One.
Okay. So this relies, a teacher must deliver this if we're going to use it. And yet, if the teacher has to deliver it, then why wouldn't she just use the smart board up front? I mean, what's this wall for anyway? Why are those words together? This is what Laura's writing. They all sound different. So frustrating for learners.
Yes.
Okay, so we're biased by what we already know. And more than biased, we're hiding from ourselves what the learner doesn't know. Precisely, it's our job as teachers to know what the learner doesn't know. And yet we're lying to ourselves that these all have this thing in common. Okay, or if you look at the D words, it doesn't have to start with a vowel. I mean, the D letter is the one constant thing in those words, and it doesn't help you say the whole word. Is it deed? Is it daunt? Is it doe? Is it die? And these are the tiny words. If you can't see them, they are okay. So 3 of those words are all related actually, and yet they all sound different. Did, don't, and do, right? The Romanians, was this from Ina? The Romanians would pronounce the word list exactly like the Spanish kids would. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of languages have written forms that are pretty phonetic, very reliable. And English is not a phonetically written language, it's a very historically written language. And yet the phonics programs pretend that no, it's a phonetic language. It just has a bunch of exceptions. And we're going to teach you the exceptions. Okay. Robin says, if you're trying to write or spell the word, you can try to look it up by the first sound, but especially words that begin with vowels, like the O words, you won't know. Okay. So we want to do something better. Okay. So we can take these words and if you want to, trying to think what we could do here. If you know how to take a screen capture, my thought was that we could actually put these words into a word wall. And now I remember that it's really boring, by the way. That's the other thing. But if we did, it would look, if we wanted to put it into a color vowel word wall, now we can listen to these words once from the teacher, and we will always be able to say them again. Let me show you an example. Oh, oh, shoot. Okay. All right, let me back up. Let's come over here to look at your chart next to you. I'm going to solve my tech problem that way. Okay. Let's run through our R words for a moment. And again, this is in the chat since we have enough folks. The first word, oh, wait, what's this word? R-E-A-D. That came up in your other list, didn't it? You talked about this in your groups. Wendy, what happened with that word?
We both saw something different. One of us said green tea read. Another person said red pepper red.
Yeah. So we would want to put it in the chart. We'd want to put it over here. What colors were those? Green tea. We could do this.
Green tea read.
And then we could mention that it's read when it is a present
tense.
Okay, good. So it's read. And then what was the other one?
Red pepper red.
Good, red. And that's when it is
past tense.
Past tense or past participle. Okay. Okay. And if it occurred in a story, we would know which one we were going to do because it occurred in the story. She read the story, and that's where we put red. Okay, if we want to pin it down. Okay, great. How about these guys? Let's play with the words do, don't, and did. All semantically related. Okay. So I'll say them. I'm going to say them 3 times, and you tell me the 3 colors. Do, don't, did. Do, don't, did. Do, don't, did. What are my 3 colors? 3 colors. Let's see. Jilson, what 3 colors do you hear? Do, don't, did. I see that.
Do, blue moon, ooh, do.
Good. Okay.
Don't, rose, boat, don't.
And what about did?
Silver, pen, did.
Great. So we're underlining the stressed vowel letters only, not the whole syllable, because we're going to use this later for spelling exploration. Okay, spelling exploration we can talk about another time, but you're basically laying down the groundwork. You're planting the seeds for noticing the vowel letter that represents that sound. And we don't have to worry that it's an O here and an O here. It just is. It's just a fact. Okay. And we can come back to what kinds of sounds can the letter O represent, or what is it doing here? Okay, great. You see how this kind of word wall is transformed very quickly. Can a kid walk up to this and say this by himself? Can he walk up to the board, Ina? How would it sound if the child walked up to the board?
Well, he would just say the color properly. Don't. Rose, boat. I keep calling it goat, rose goat, but it's boat. So yeah.
Okay.
Don't, rose,
so
boat.
it's that simple, right? He just walks up, he knows the color, the anchor phrase, because it's the anchor phrase that you've taught him. This is where you spend your time, everybody. Make sure the anchor phrases are anchored. So the child walks up, he says, rose, boat, don't. He's all set, and he can practice. He could come back and do that again and again. Okay, so this would take a long time. And it's not so interesting because it's a lot of words. We want to know what the story is. There's no story. Can we move to a story? Let's move to a story. Okay. A mouse, I'm going to read a sentence, and then Shirley, you and I are going to go back and forth, okay? A mouse took a stroll through the deep, dark wood.
A fox saw the mouse, and the mouse looked good.
Where are you going to, little brown mouse?
Come and have lunch in my underground house.
It's terribly kind of you, fox, but no, I'm going to have lunch with a gruffalo.
He has terrible tusks and terrible claws, And terrible teeth, and he says terrible jaws.
His eyes are orange. His tongue is black.
Black.
He has purple prickles all over his back. Okay, so this is a wonderful story. This is the Gruffalo. I've left you a reference over in the course for this. Do we agree we're immediately more interested in the words here than do, don't, did, does, she, is, what? Okay, so we care more about stories and real language than we do about, you can decide what these are. The different colors are probably different order of delivering different sight words. We'll call them sight words here, right? They've been relegated into a place where they somehow have to be put on a wall that nobody can use. We can now free up our wall, use it functionally, and now spend time with stories instead, okay? So what are some words? I'd just like you to pick a word that the learner might struggle with in this story, or a word that they care about. I don't know, I'd just go with what they care about. What is this story about? Because when we presuppose struggle, we make struggle. Right? I mean, why not ask about the story? And as the learner needs to use words, they might struggle with them in pronunciation, or they might struggle with decoding them. But either way, we have a nice answer. Right? So in the chat, take a moment in the chat, don't hit return. This is going to be you typing, and you can click your shift button to hit return if you want to make a line. But my question for you is, what are the main actors in this story so far? Who matters in this story? Okay, so you're typing. I could also ask the child, if I'm working with a child or a group of children, what's happening in this story? And he might say, I don't know, Eric, what's happening in this story? And he might say,
the mouse and the fox are talking.
good. The mouse and the fox. And I say, oh, great. So mouse and fox are main characters. What color's mouse? So I can simply raise phonemic awareness and ask about my main characters, what color their names are. Fox, fa-ah-ah-ah. And Eric, what would you say?
I would say olive sock fox.
Great. And what about, we have mouse. What color is mouse?
Mouse would be brown cow mouse.
Great. And our third, Gruffalo. Everybody, Gruffalo, Gruffalo, Harold, what color is Gruffalo? Your favorite vowel? I think you said a cup of mustard. I can kind of see you. I can't hear you. A cup of mustard Gruffalo. Great. Terribly. We've got lunch. Okay. So now if we wanted to fill in the reading of this is one thing we do. We read aloud. The learner listens. We talk about the story. There's a lot about courage in this story. There's a lot about bravery in this story. And there's a lot of cleverness in this story. So we talk about that social emotional piece. And when we are ready to take the language apart, we can go ahead and put it into a whole color vowel organizer. Okay. What does that look like? Okay. So out of the passage that Shirley and I read, this is what it looks like. Okay. So now we can start to look at these very interesting mustard words. And we know how they sound, just like Ina told us. It's very simple, right? Vanessa, I'm looking at you. With a cup of mustard, could you go ahead and just deliver each of those words after saying a cup of mustard, and then walk through these 6 words? Would you do that?
Cup of mustard come. A cup of mustard lunch. Cup of mustard underground. A cup of mustard Gruffalo. A cup of mustard tusks. A cup of mustard tongue.
Great. Nice job. How'd that feel? Doable, right? Totally doable. Can kids do this? What do you think, Chris? You think so? I think so. In fact, I know it. I've done it with 3- and 4-year-olds. I've done it with young ones. Okay. They especially do well with the part that's right here, where we talk about the story. I put out the cards. I have image cards. So I'll put out the cards of the main characters, and then they will, on the floor, they will jump on those colors and put their hands down on them. Mustard. Oh, what color is fox? Olive. You know, what color is our next guy? Gruffalo. Mustard. Okay. So there are lots of ways to light that up. And then your word wall starts to look much more accessible to everybody, not just native speakers. You don't have to label them anymore, actually. You don't have to have in your mind, oh, they're the learners and those other ones, they're fine because they're the native speakers. All children have to learn how to read. They're all grappling with the same reading learning process, but the English learners need more vocabulary building. They have to catch up. Okay, depending on what age you're talking about, when they've arrived, they have a lot of catch up to do. So you're scaffolding vocabulary, which we've been doing, but they're also with their peers. Everybody's together doing this phonemic awareness, identifying the stressed vowels. And the consonants, you know, it's so interesting looking at the curricula these days. If you look through, and I've been rereading speech to print, I think what I realized a couple of nights ago, I woke up at 4 in the morning. I was like, oh my gosh, this is why they dedicate chapters and chapters to different consonants, and about 2 chapters to vowels. And it occurred to me that it's because if you do the math, how many vowel letters are there? How many consonant letters are there? And so they've, or sounds, let's do it that way. How many consonant letters are there? More, right? And so a lot of times the curricula seem to mirror the small percentage of vowel letters to the large percentage of consonant letters. What do you think? Do you think this is a possible reason? It baffles me how very little attention is paid other than saying, let's do long and short vowels. Okay. Pretty sneaky. Every word has a vowel. Okay. Thank you, Robin. All right. So what I'd like to do is we're going to move along into the importance of play. We've spent a couple minutes here on the heart, you know, story and caring and using language in that way. We also, by the way, have sidestepped elegantly the need to talk about long and short vowels. The first sort that you did of animals were all short, but we don't call them that because it's not comprehensive enough. So over in the video series, you'll see a short explanation of how suddenly we can move into something cleaner, okay, where all of these are moving vowels. And we'll quickly, if you can just go ahead and start a little loop with your finger like this and say E, ye, ye, ye. Good. Now switch to gray. A, yay, 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 and freeze. A, yay, 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 yay. The minute you stop on gray, it's no longer gray. It becomes red. So the minute you stop moving, a, yay, yay, it's now a non-moving sound, red pepper. That's how all we need to call it, moving and non-moving, because it's observable. We can see it. It's not a guise, it's not a trick, and it's not a spell. You know, oh, you don't know why that's a long vowel, but I do. So many teachers also don't know why it's long, because it's not. Okay. How about O? Or say, let's try ow, this one, try it in a loop, ready? And you're going to freeze when I freeze. Ow, wow, 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 freeze, ah, 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 ah. What sound is it now? Ah. What color? Ah.
Kind of close to black cat.
Yeah, it depends on where you stop in the loop, right? Ow, ah, 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 close to black cat, or ow, ah, 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 maybe olive sock.
Olive.
Or ow, ooh, 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 ooh. Maybe it's become blue. So these move by their nature, they must move. And if you've thought about your long vowel, short vowel distinction, all of your long vowels, don't worry, they're all still here. but now all of the moving vowels are here. And suddenly these other vowels, who's ever seen other vowel listed in their materials? Or they're called diphthongs. Anybody seen that? Diphthongs. You're like, okay, why, what does that do for me and my learner? Diphthong. It's a big intimidating word that the parents don't know what to do with when the material goes home. But moving is an observable behavior. Non-moving is also observable. Try the sound black. Ah. Ah. And you can freeze and you can still perform it. Ah. Okay. Great. All right. I'm now going to switch. So we've resolved this a little bit. There's a lot more you can learn, but I wanted to just say, do you see how much is falling away from what occupies both the space and the time of the phonics classroom? And we know that science of reading is much more than phonics, but phonics is the piece that keeps getting bloated and bigger and more time. And this is in the research. This was a research recently delivered through Center for Applied Linguistics about last month. And the report is that teachers are being told to dedicate more and more and more time to phonics at the expense of English language development, which is vocabulary and all of the things that English learners need, let alone all the other pieces, the message of what they're reading, the comprehensibility, the comprehension, okay? So we're aiming to take away a great deal. We can tear down the word wall that we've had. We can put up, gosh, you could just collect red words for a while. You don't have to have all the colors on your wall, right? You can just collect mustard because that's what people keep asking questions about is mustard. You can then rededicate that part of the wall to some other color. So you don't have to have them all up there, okay? All right. Now, as we move forward, the child and the story are so important, but also play. And so we're going to dedicate this last section of our time to playing. What do you, when you see this, I know you see a crossword. When was the last time you had an English learner of any age say, I want to do a crossword? And I'm seeing Doug, he's willing to do a crossword because he knows. Crosswords have traditionally been very, sort of prohibitive. Like that's the line that the English learner cannot cross because it's just too hard. But Laura came up with a new idea, and it's something we've now been doing for several years. And these are all puzzles, but especially this one. Laura, you want to talk a little bit about how you started developing these?
Yeah, well, I started, one of the things that we've barely tapped into is the process of flooding. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Once you create these word walls in your classroom, and I teach adults, but it's the same as kids, we have walls in our classrooms at the community college, and we will collect all of the blue words on our blue moon page and a cup of mustard words. And as the course progresses, these lists get longer and longer. And so my students can practice. Once we have at least 5 or 6 words on the list, we'll do a quick warm up and run through all of the mustard or blue words. And students can hear those just like they can on that color vowel organizer. So whether they're at home or in the classroom, you can run through this list of words and it taps into the musical part of their brain. And so they're able to actually start learning those new sounds. So when they're saying cup of mustard, month, Sunday, Monday, mother, gruffalo, nut, I can't remember all those words, the rhythm kicks in and they start applying that sound to all of those words. And that's really, really powerful practice. It may seem too easy because it's easy to do. They have the words on the wall. They use their hand kinesthetically, and it's really like crack for their brain, I think. They learn them really fast. And so that's a practice that we do in the classroom. But I love using games for practice. And so I realized that crossword puzzles were a way to tap into that flooding process. And so, Karen, do you want me to share my screen or?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I started making color vowel crossword puzzles. And so all the words would be blue, for example. And I made one, sorry, getting ahead of myself. So I would make crossword puzzles with clues. So if it was blue moon student, the clue would be someone who is studying something. And so they would say study, someone who studies, student, blue moon, you know. But then recently, because I've been thinking about elementary education and learning to read, I've come up with picture crosswords. And so these are all animals. Again, everyone loves animals. This is an easy in. Go ahead. What is this one called? You can unmute. Someone can unmute, put in the chat. What's that animal?
Hippo, or properly called hippopotamus.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's hippo or hippopotamus. So it could be, what color is hippo? Hippo.
Silver.
Hippo.
Silver. Yes. So, so I think it's silver. Someone said silver. Silver pin.
Hippo.
Yeah. I agree. Yes.
What's the long form of that word?
Hippopotamus.
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 Is that 5 syllables? Where's the stress in that word?
The O,
Your
I would say.
hippopotamus.
Hippopotamus.
It's a fun word to say, isn't it, Robin?
Hippopotamus. Hippopotamus.
So what color is the long form of that? Hippopotamus.
Olive.
Olive. Okay. So
Olive. Yeah.
yeah. So we've got silver pin hippo or olive sock hippopotamus. Okay. What's that guy?
Shark.
Shark. Shark. What color is shark? And now we have the R in that word, right? So we're going to slow it down a little bit to hear the vowel before the R. Take your hand and say shark. 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 Anyone know what color that is? I can't see the chat, sorry.
Can we try with olive socks?
Let's
Because
try
we say
olive.
sha.
Yeah, Shaw. Olive sock,
sock.
shark. Exactly.
Now,
Nice job,
Laura,
Sasha. Yeah.
someone in the chat mentioned black cat. I think they're thinking about that letter A, right?
Yeah. So this is one thing that I love about Color Vowel is that our eyes are super, super powerful with our brain. And I feel like they're like in the driver's seat. And so my learners, my adults, they look at the word SHARK, and they're going to see that A is for, right? And the A, they might think that's an A or a black cat, But we know if you take the word away, and you just hear the sound, hear the real word, it's actually an olive sock word, isn't it? It's not shark or shark, black cat, shark. That's hard to say. Shark. And so the beauty of Color Vowel is it really is a sound to text, sound-based strategy that helps us listen to the word and helps us sort of bypass our eyes. Does that make sense? Because our eyes will fool us a lot of times. So this is olive sock shark. So let's do one more. What's this cute little guy?
Beaver.
I think it doesn't have the big teeth.
Otter.
Yeah, that's a cute little otter. Wendy, what color is otter for you?
Otter is olive sock otter.
Yeah, olive sock otter. So all of these are olive sock animals. So you can click on, I've made these games in a book and digitally. So if you click on this guy, the picture's up here, and then how do you actually spell that olive sock word? Right? Let's go back to this one. Olive sock, SH. Now, what's that vowel letter? How do we spell it?
A-R-K.
Is it O-R-K?
It's A.
Right, it's an A, exactly. So what we've done is we've talked about these animals, and once your learners can identify these, you can do a mini flood, like what I was saying before. Everyone, just take your hands out with me like this, and we're going to just go through these. Let me see if I can, yeah, I'm not sure why. There we go. Hold on. Can everyone see those, I think?
Yeah.
Okay, take your hand. We're just going to say them and open your hand on the stress sound. Ready? Say olive sock first. Ready? Olive sock, hippopotamus, shark, otter, octopus, dolphin, frog, rhinoceros, walrus, donkey, lobster. What's that one? Crocodile. So say alligator, crocodile, koala, ostrich, sloth, dog, fox. I know that we're all muted. You can hear that, but it's wonderful in the classroom to hear all of your learners saying donkey, lobster, crocodile, koala, ostrich, sloth. So it's harnessing that power of flooding. And then when you look up here, this is really the connection, connecting these sounds of spoken English to the written word. So here, learners understand that this A and that O, they're both olive sock. This one doesn't have to be irregular. It doesn't have to be learned later. With the color vowel, no words are irregular. And I think that is so important. I've talked to so many teachers and they say, oh, they just learn the irregular words. Well, how do they learn them? And why do they have to be irregular? Why is the shark irregular? Is just as legitimate as the otter, right? And so your learners are able to make the connection that this is an olive sock shark and this is olive sock otter. And once these are all filled in, same thing, they can see all the different ways that the sound olive sock is spelled. So crosswords may seem like something your grandpa does, but my learners love them because they're able to flood all of these words, check out the spelling patterns, and learn how to say these words comprehensibly.
All right, folks. We're now heading towards sort of conclusions, observations, what we call in our courses moments for takeaways or ahas. So it's a moment for you to kind of look back on the last hour and a half and think, what was something truly new for you? A new insight, something that's exciting to you, maybe something that you would say you remember when you talk to someone in your household after this session, or something you want to pursue. And I'd like you to start putting some thought into that because we'll be finishing up with those. I'd like to spend a moment highlighting a few resources that we have waiting for you in the course space there for you. And so I'm going to share screen for a moment. All right. And so here, you're familiar with the overview. When you come down past our live workshop, by the way, if you want your certificate, you'll need to notice that every page here has a complete and continue feature so that you can click off the bubble. You see that bubble on the left and how it turns into a check. Here was that questionnaire. I'd still love your answers if you haven't had a chance to answer it. But then when you've finished, click complete to check off. So we're just completing and checking everything to show that you have essentially looked at it. Okay. These are some pretty useful resources. I do recommend orienting yourself if you aren't very familiar with what the science of reading is, or if you wonder what else is being said about it. I have sort of factual information. I've got a critical article here by Rachel Cohen that I think you'll find interesting, a little shocking. So take a look at that. And so forth. Okay. When you come down to our next steps and opportunities, I've left you some resources, including, let me see if I can find that here. I will be providing a link here to Laura's crossword. And then we have some color vowel organizers here waiting for you. And so you'll see all of the vocabulary from the Gruffalo, all of the animal vocabulary organized to get an idea of what this looks like. And you can start thinking in this new way. Down below that, we've got some recommendations for materials. These are some of our sort of highest octane materials that we use in our classroom, including Color It Out, a game that we've not touched on tonight, but that we have some demo and information for over in those links. Okay. The Color Vowel Chart poster. That's a link to our Redbubble shop where you can get it in various sizes, and it does ship internationally. We haven't even had a chance to touch on how brilliant Laura's work is around these picture dictionary with color vowel posters, and they come in lots of sizes and formats. So take a look at these, but these are words that are all organized by color, again, regardless and inclusive of all the spelling patterns that are purple of that common set. So we're taking a very flipped approach to teaching reading. Okay. And then finally, I wanted you to be aware of some special new options. And if you're Color Vowel teachers, these are new for you, by the way. Okay. If you're brand new to Color Vowel Basics is a great way to move forward. This is a link to our course. You can read all about it. It gets you oriented to this way of teaching. And it's a beautiful complement to any phonics program you're already using, but it provides you with that clean terminology that you can lay in. So it's not going to fight with your phonics program. It will make it better. Just want to put it that way. If you are interested in working with us, trying new things in your classroom, you're a K through 12 teacher especially, or maybe you work with adults, but you do very intensive literacy work. We have created a new community called the Missing Piece Community, or the Missing Piece. Okay, and so this is a place for teachers that are already basics trained or are getting level 1 trained with basics and above. And for this option, it's a $15 a month subscription with a startup fee that will help fund this effort. And our new effort is to really explore how Color Vowel can clean up the science of reading in the classroom as it's implemented there. So we're looking for folks who want to essentially try out. Every week we'll provide a weekly download, a new Color Vowel reading activity or a game. Laura is working on these designs. So we want to pilot them and collect findings, modifications, questions, and new ideas. That will include, for that same $15 a month, a monthly meetup, okay, where we live get together on Zoom to talk and to take a look at strategy and tools and ways forward, okay, through action research. And then every quarter, we're going to get together and really look at our progress, okay, and see what's happening in classrooms and how we can make this a more widely known strategy for teachers to start cleaning up their time and their effort and to provide learners with greater success. If you are not yet Color Vowel trained, I have a third option with membership. And this is a huge value that I've put together for you all. This includes the basics, which is usually it's $165, as well as the community, as well as a workshop that I've delivered a couple times now in the past called Color Vowel for Young Learners. And that's a mini course, as well as 3 clinics and access to future clinics, all of that for $149 and a 15-month subscription, $15. Okay, so take a look at the details. You'll click on the links, explore, see what you think. I would love to work with some K through 12 teachers. And again, any adult ed deep enthusiasts in literacy and reading. And Dr. Barr, I know I'm talking to you, but among others, okay? So take a look at those. And then after the workshop, we have a survey waiting for you and a certificate that just represents the time that you've spent with us and the materials that we've provided, okay? All right. If there's anything else you need, what else we're doing is in the WhatsApp group, and there is a link over there in the course to join our WhatsApp group. I'll be asking some questions over the next couple of days, especially tomorrow and Saturday, and we'll close it up end of Saturday for the time being. But we'd love to, see what you're thinking after the workshop and answer any other questions you may have. Okay. I want to thank Laura for so much of the work that she's done. She's our materials designer. She pilots these activities in her own classroom, and she's a brilliant designer that way. It'll be a real pleasure working over the next several months with her and the community that we've just established, the missing piece. Okay, so thank you, Laura, for your games. I'm now interested in opening up the floor for questions, and then we'll finish up with takeaways. But I'm eager to take questions. Or takeaways.
I have
both of those. Hi, Patricia.
I have a question, as I just can't remember where to put the hand up. I'm as a public school ESOL teacher, and there's only one school that I know of in this whole of Fairfax County that participated in the training and doing this. I'm wondering how to even bring this into a school. And I see it's very valuable. And the teachers are overwhelmed, and the teachers who've been there a long time are doing their own thing still. But newer teachers, younger teachers are like, I got to do it. I got to do it. And they have those big books from Benchmark in their laps. So
I see
curious.
Rebecca Wilner, you turned on your camera. Rebecca teaches for DC Public Schools. Rebecca, would you like to speak to Patricia's question? How do you, I think the question, Patricia, was how do you bring it in? Was that what you said? Yeah. Rebecca, would you like to
More
speak
or
to
less
that?
when, yeah.
No, go ahead, Patricia.
No, more or less, yeah. How do you bring it in? Yeah, that's it. I can see a few different ways to approach it. I'm thinking I might just try in my own little world, but also these kids go back into the classroom, or I'm doing it in the classroom with them. So I have to have somebody, I think, ideally buying in.
My experience has been that when I started using it, all of the other teachers went, get out of here with that. Like, we don't have time for anything else. And so I just started using it in pullouts, or if I was pushing in, I just started using it as a visual reference. You know, let's talk about the sounds of this vocabulary that we're working with, or whatever. And you could see, like, especially when we pushed in, you could see other kids like kind of listening with one ear and starting to like be like, it's olive, right? And then like the other kids sort of noticing, and then the teacher being like what is this? What is it? And so, and eventually I have like a little corner in some of the classrooms that I push into. And so I just stuck it up on the wall. I mean, I asked the teacher first, I said, this is something I use. I'm just going to stick it right here. And the teachers started to just slowly be like, oh, I think that I say that Auburn and you're saying it's Olive. And so we could sort of have a conversation about that. I also teach with other teachers who have different dialects than mine. And so sometimes in their dialect, it's a different color than in my dialect. And I always welcome that. And then we sort of poll the class who says it, like, how do you say this word? We have a little conversation about it. And it didn't take that long, really. I would say within the first quarter, like the beginning, the second quarter, people were sort of on board with the idea of it. Not all of the teachers that I co-teach with use it, but they know what it is. We just moved from one building to another building, and I took all the color vowel charts off the walls that I had them in. And when we moved, I had, of course, put them in a box and then very safely put that box somewhere that I could not find for about a week. And the teachers were like, hey, where's that color vowel thing? I like, where's the color chart? I want it in my classroom again. So it does. And I would just start using it, just start. And it's okay if you don't know all the answers. The kids will help you. You can look it up. I have Blue Canoe, but I also have the Color Vowel Dictionary on my computer. And so we can just click on the word and it'll tell you what color it is. It's occasionally incorrect, but if you email them, they fix it immediately. So
Wow.
it's a great just start using it, and everybody else
Okay.
will eventually either get on board or at least be curious about it and tolerate it. I still haven't had tons of success with like regular teachers just using it themselves. They still, like, some of them kind of do, but they still sort of want me or one of the other ESOL teachers who've been trained to like be around. But they'll refer to it, like sometimes I catch them referring to it when I'm not there. And I'm like always really excited about it. But yeah,
Sure.
that's what I would say.
All right, thank you. That's very helpful.
Other takeaways, new ideas, something you'll continue thinking about. And thanks for asking that question, Patricia. I'm the way you asked it was fascinating to me. Essentially, what I hear in your subtext is, I don't know if I have permission, and I don't know if I can give myself permission. And is that sort of what, is that right?
Yes. So I think, and yeah, maybe a separate conversation, but
And I'm
I
just
do
so
have the
grateful you
trust of,
came, because listen, I have got a lot of folks in the room that I know personally who are not in, and I call it a world because it's a world. The K through 12 world is very insulated and insular, and it speaks a language I don't know, but I know that you're stressed. I know you're
yes,
overwhelmed, and you know we've been trying for years, and so we always do our best work when it comes to the individual teacher. I find when we start with the teacher, that is the best path forward. When I work with principals, it's difficult to do anything good. We have to start at the bottom, and the teacher is the pathway. So yeah, start with the chart. Start you tomorrow. It's like, I just love everything you said, Rebecca. You know, it's okay to not know all the answers. And the community, and we have a free teachers community too, by the way, but that's like, it's more generalized. The community we're establishing will really be there for you in terms of K through 12. Like, that's my idea. If we want to do this. Okay. It's really a proposal. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Claire has put in the chat for everybody. It's embedded in a thread there, the Blue Canoe dictionary extension. Blue Canoe is an app that was developed around the Color Vowel concept. Okay, so we collaborated with them to do that. And if we, if you use the dictionary extension, you can be on the internet and look up any word of English that you come across. And I'll give you one other tool I'll put it there in the course for you, but there's a tool called Wordsmith where you can also look up the color vowel. Okay, great. In fact, Claire, if you want, go ahead and go to bluecanoelearning.com and click on Wordsmith in the top nav, and then you can share that link for everybody. Thank you. Doug, you have a comment.
Yes, after listening to Laura, I thought I'd mention that I teach adults, and I often give them articles to read in readworks.org. And what I'll do is give them an assignment to find, 5 Blue Canoe words. And out of the class, I'll end up with 15 or 17 words or something. And I can take those and put them in Chat GPT, and I can get ESL concentric definitions for entry-level students. And then I can just port those into crossword puzzle at crosswords.lab. So it makes it real easy to get the words from a story that's already there that they read, and get it into a crossword puzzle. And they seem to like to flood it after that. So this is for adults.
Yep.
That's fantastic. And I love that they're student generated words.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing they can do that.
Well, sometimes it's a lot of work to get the little definitions that fit. So AI does it very nicely for me.
It does.
Great. I do think that the K through 12 and the adult ed world have a lot to gain from each other. And so I'm really pleased to have such a nice, broad, diverse audience here today. Other takeaways?
Yeah, one of the takeaways that Oh, sorry. Yeah, just really quick, I wanted to say, like I said in the chat, I feel like I'm brewing a lot of ideas here, what to do for my lessons and what have you. And so currently I'm doing both. I teach adults, but I'm also teaching middle school. I'm actually transitioning out of teaching adults to really teaching middle school full time soon. And I can definitely see, definitely the word wall that you had up there, maybe doing something with the kids. uh kind of make it, of course, depending on their levels, after introducing it to them, after developing further with them, definitely having like a little competitive activity, maybe one group versus another group, like, oh, and they have cutouts with the animal. Which one is it? Is it a cup of mustard, or is it? And then, kind of making it fun, and also, or maybe doing something like have it got like a read aloud, but just, only with the vowel sounds and the vocabulary words. And yeah, I feel like the lessons are endless with this. So it's yeah, thank you for introducing this to us. Really, this is great. Yeah.
You're so welcome. It's only the beginning, Edis. You're going to find it just becomes more and more productive. In fact, you kind of reminded me, it's kind of a nice way to finish, because I think some of these takeaways will brew overnight and over the next day or two. And so I will encourage you to share those there. What I would like to do is finish out with a little of Colored Out, something we've not highlighted nearly enough, because it is literally, no pun intended, a game changer for K through 12 learners, newcomers, especially when you have a base of students who already play. It's the fellow students, the peers, who introduce them to this. Laura designed this game. She invented it in about 2014. It has been a game that ESL students have driven us to produce it and manufacture it. It's been incredible to watch adult learners take it, buy it, and take it home and play it with their young learners who are already sounding like they speak English, but are working on their reading and writing. So let's go ahead and play. Laura, you want to play with me a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
Which hand is mine? Which hand is mine? On the left?
You're on the left. I'm on the right.
All right. So this is like Uno. You have to match either green, one of the colors. So green tea or blue moon. I have a blue moon card there on the left. Karen, can you drag that for me?
I sure can.
I can't actually move them. All right. So this is my spoken turn. I'm going to say blue moon you, blue moon shoe.
Great. Now, I can always turn these around. We do in real life too. You can turn them around so they're easier to read, or you read upside down, either way, depending on the learner's comfort with reading that way. But these are manipulative, right? Okay. Beautiful. My turn. I can pick either a rose boat or a blue moon. And in my hand, I'll go ahead and use the first card I see. And I will say rose boat toe, rose boat low. Notice, everyone, especially our newcomers, just how interesting this is. You get to play, first of all, real words, including sight words that are usually relegated off to some category. So we get to look at different spelling patterns here that often aren't put out in front of the student. This is the real honest story. The word toe is a rose word, and we get to look at it, right? Also notice that each card is its own little comparison factory. We've got toe and shoe with the same spelling patterns. Okay. How and low with the same spelling patterns, different colors. So we immediately get to start putting that together.
I think it's amazing that of those cards, toe and low are the ones that match, not ho and low or toe and show.
Or shoe and two.
So yeah, so I created this for my high intermediate advanced learners, and they would say, "Excuse me, I think this is wrong." I'd say, "No, actually, that's right." And so even though this seems easy, it was really it showed a lot of learners' mistakes that they were making and didn't realize. So okay, my turn. I'm going to do that rose boat card there. Can you grab that for me? Okay, rose boat low, rose boat home.
Great. Come home. Comb home.
Come hum.
Come hum. So they can do this, and they can play, they can win or they can lose because they run out of cards. Their pronunciation is not going to win or lose the game, nor is their misreading. But they hear the flooding. That's the difference, is they're going to succeed, because if they say rose, boat, low, rose, boat, hum, either they or a classmate will hear it and they'll correct it. Okay, and reapply, or you'll hear it. And so we just lay it right back in, rose, boat, home. Okay. I see Patricia, you look intrigued. You want to take my turn? Maybe with this mustard word? We're going to start with the word on the table and turn to the word that I've just played. So you'll start
That's
with
Laura's hand, Karen.
It's
You
okay.
stole the card.
Oh, I
She's
did. I
cheating.
stole a card. Okay.
It's
I'm
okay.
going
I
to let
will
Patricia take it though. Yeah.
win faster.
So after
Cup of mustard.
So cup of mustard, come, cup of mustard, Monday. Oh, Monday. That's right. I just do it once, right?
A cup of mustard.
Cup
Monday.
of mustard, come. Cup of mustard, Monday. And I leave.
Beautiful. Yeah. And now what you've done is you've overridden, if you're a second language speaker of English, you've overridden the temptation to say comb and Monday or Monday, right? You simply
And they
get
could
to,
play because
yeah,
I'm thinking of the students. They're so now it's all drilled. How do you spell it? They're freezing. First graders who used to just go brr and just write what they thought about, approximating things, they're stuck.
wow.
And it's discouraged. I feel anyway.
Yeah.
Amen.
Oh no,
And
we're going to talk. You have a lot to say. I mean, I wanted to hear it. I think you're right. So this creates flow. This is the gamification of what we do. It creates a flow. They're speaking. Guess what they can do next? Laura, you want to tell us what they can do with a story like Might and Monday?
Yes. So the more advanced learners, or for scaffolding, for more sentence framing, whatever, each one of these cards was designed so that you could make a sentence. So if I take my turn, cup of mustard, come, cup of mustard, Monday, and the words are might and Monday, I have to come up with a sentence. I can say, it might rain on Monday. Yeah.
Or I might come home
on
Monday.
Yeah. Depends if you put the cards on top of each other or if you put them out like this. So we've had a lot of fun, and students really enjoy that opportunity because you've given them two key words in a sentence. They can say them confidently and they can try making a sentence.
Great. All right, folks. So thank you for staying a little later than planned. We did build in a little extra time in case we went over, but I know you have all kinds of commitments as well. I want to thank everyone for being here with us. Please, so they say, tell your friends, but really tell your colleagues what happened tonight, and let them know that the workshop will remain open. They can still register for the workshop, and they can watch the recorded session and those other videos that I've posted. Okay. We really are interested in collecting a community of teachers, like those of you who have spoken up tonight, sharing your stories, sharing the sense of overwhelm. And also, I think I get a sense of it's a lot of pressure and not a lot of solutions that you might be facing in K through 12 with the materials. And I'll finish with something I've not said yet, that I think is important. It's not that listen, the more I read Louisa Moats or anybody else who's contributed to the science of reading, I admire their work. It's the implementation through materials that is problematic. And somehow, I don't know how, because I just don't, the translation that publishers make into actual classroom materials and the lack of messaging that, what do you take down when your school buys a new program? What are you supposed to take off of your walls before you put the new stuff on your walls? And I just find teachers are layering multiple programs. Some of you in the room even wrote Hegarty and 95% and letters and, multiple programs all competing for the actual real estate in your wall space. I don't know how you can think. I think it's overwhelming. And I think the learner is visually overwhelmed by a lot of messaging that says reading is really hard. And when the walls are covered in print, I think, you know, and arrows and graphemes and markups and braves and lines, wow, it does seem hard. But I think we can make it easier, and I think we can give everybody a break, simplify the playing field. So that's the vision I have. I hope to see some of you in the community, and I hope to keep this dialogue going. And again, so please talk to others, talk to me. You can always find us at colorvowel.com, and know that the teachers, Color Vowel teachers in the room, thank you for being here. A lot of what you heard today was not incredibly new, but I think the lens was new. And so that's been really big for us today too. Patricia, thank you for sharing your perspective. You seem shy about it, but it's very, I think, can we all agree, like the 3 things you've said have really made me just have given me new ways of thinking, just knowing that. And so we want to hear more from you. We want to hear more from others. Okay. In the end, we want kids to learn how to read, and we want teachers to feel better about the process. Laura, any final comments?
Yeah, I just want to plug this community that we have just set up for you. I've already made 3 games about the Gruffalo that I want to share. And so if you join this community, it's a place where we can actually exchange materials that are color vowel but appropriate for your learners. So join us there.
Yeah, and a weekly dialogue and a monthly gathering. So we're trying to provide lots of support, dialogue, and community with a very specific purpose. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being here, everybody. Have a great evening or morning, wherever you may be, because I know we have some international folks, and we'll be seeing you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank